So let's talk about some video games.
Yes, please.
Austin, you still with me? Okay, good.
Man, I'm waiting for video games.
You've been so quiet. I was just like, oh, maybe he like disconnected or stopped talking to me.
I left you.
I was just like, I'm done. I just can't handle this. All right, Austin, we've been playing a game called Wargroove. I was going to talk about it last week, but we decided to wait because you were going to play it because I thought you'd really like this game. And I want to talk about my thoughts on it, and then we'll see what you think about it. But Wargroove is a game that came out on the Switch. I think it's exclusive to the Switch, if I believe. I could be completely wrong, though. But it is a game. No, it's not exclusive to the Switch. It's on multiple platforms. It's on the Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows. And this is a game that I've kind of fallen in love with more than I thought I would. It is a turn-based strategy game for up to 4 players. However, I am just playing the story campaign in which you jump in and you fight bad guys in a story. You have a commander, and it's turn-based war where you have factions that battle each other, and you play for a group called the Cherry something. It's Cherry something or another. I forgot the name of the place. Maybe Cherry Stone. Cherry Stone. There we go. Cherry Stone. You're the Kingdom of Cherry Stone, and you play as Queen Marcia that must flee her home. Pursued by her foes, the only way to save her kingdom is to travel to new lands in search of allies. So as you're traveling, you find some good guys and you find some bad guys, and there's 12 different characters you can play in this game, and you do actually play some of these characters in addition to fighting these characters, so that's pretty awesome. And you have warring factions such as the Cherrystone Kingdom, the Felheim Legion, the Floran Tribes, and the Heaven Song Empire. And the campaign mode has lots and lots of missions, as well as side missions that you can go about as you're doing the story. But this is a game that has tons and tons of characters, or the different unit types. So you start out 2 sides, 2 commanders, and then you have some units. And you can capture barracks, you can capture houses, and when you capture those houses, they give you gold every turn. You capture the barracks, you can spawn an unit out of that barracks every turn. You spawn your characters, and each character has different advantages and disadvantages, such as better at taking down buildings, better at fighting the catapults, or they might be slower but they're stronger, or one might travel really far and be able to shoot long range like an archer, but is also super squishy. So you have to weigh the pros and cons of every unit that you're playing. And I really like this game. I've been playing quite a bit of it, and it's got this slow, methodical combat where I can sit there and plan out my attacks very carefully. And then whenever I do my attack, it runs, and then I can go and like wash my hands or work on something while the other people are doing their turn. And then I have as long as I want to sit there and plan my next attack and figure out what I'm going to do, which is awesome. And I actually absolutely love it. So, Austin, you've been playing this as well. What are your thoughts on
Yeah, finally got to jump into it. And I was telling Brett off camera that I played a game like similar to this, but it was, I guess, kind of based in the future. Has that anime style of graphics and character depictions. And you have tanks and you have soldiers with guns and stuff. And so you're trying to battle it out like that. It was more of a 4 or like 1 versus 1 versus 1 versus 1. And it was cool because it was on the Game Boy Advance, and me and my friends would play it during art class in high school. And we'd pass the Game Boy Advance around, and we had a lot of fun with it. But jumping into this, it's very similar. I enjoy the style of game, and I like the unit types. Like, I'm excited to see what other levels, because I got to the second level and it took me like 30 to 45 minutes to beat, because I think at least for the campaign, I think there is a way to beat stuff that you can beat it pretty quick. And there's a lot of different ways of actually completing a mission. And I enjoy that, and having to use that tactical, know-how to navigate these missions. And I didn't do it very well, and I almost died, but I somehow pulled through in the end. And I like that, when you move your units around, as they get damaged, you can actually heal them by going to one of your strongholds or one of the villages that you own, and you can heal them for some gold. So there is some economic management that you have to take into account for each turn, and how you want to pursue stuff, and how much you want to advance, and how much you need to stay back and heal your troops, and just all that planning is really awesome. But the thing for me that really didn't really go too well, like sell too well with me, is that everything takes a long time. From going from one phase to the next, having to move your units, and when they attack, there's a cutscene, which I like the cutscenes, and then but all those lag time in between, it just didn't. It just everything that took, one mission that took 30 minutes could easily have taken 15 or less, depending on how you just some of those animations, and having to switch over from one your person to the enemy's advancement. And yeah, it's just I don't know if I could keep playing this game as much as I want to because of that.
So mainly it's just slow for you,
right?
And that's kind of the deterrent.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like I usually that's my reaction to games in general. Like it's too slow, so I don't want to play it. And this one I never really had that issue. I mean, it is a slower pace, but it's like for me, my thought process was this is just the nature of turn-based gameplay. Because I don't really play a lot of turn-based games, but the ones that I have played, which I've obviously played Mario versus Rabbids and stuff like that was slow, and like, but there wasn't as many units on the battlefield, so I think that has something to do with it a lot as well. Like whereas in like Mario versus Rabbids, you might have 3 or 4 characters on your side, and the other side has 5, 6, 7, but they're not moving as far, and there's not as many factors that come into play in that situation. But in this one, there's so many different factors, such as like, attack sequences for one. There's different types of attack sequences, and then you attack, and there's also the kickback attack, where they can fight back if you don't kill them. And then you have the different barriers that affect speed, and like the mountains that affect speed and stuff like that. And then just the sheer number of units, because as you get further in the game, you get more and more units that are at play. So it takes even longer.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because on the second match where you start using your heroes, you got to take an account of that. And then I didn't manage my money right. And so I was healing my units more than I was building. And it got to the point where, you have your little war castle that has that allows you to build troops. But if you don't have it and it gets taken over, you can't build anything. So I'm like gaining money, and now I don't have a lot of troops, and then I have to heal my troops because I have to wait multiple rounds before I capture this building. And I was like, man, this is pretty thought out, and I did enjoy that. Like that was awesome, like you were saying.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of really cool stuff that gets introduced later in game. Like once you get into the woodlands and stuff like that, they introduce the fog of war mechanic. So whenever you're playing, like you move your infantry, but you can't see the enemy until you move. You get these dogs that have a long range of sight. And if you put up on a mountain, they can see farther, which opens up more of the fog of war. So you have to use them as a mechanic in the game to see. And that's like your goal for victory, is to make sure that you have dogs on all the mountains so you can see the vast majority of the map. But when you don't, you have to pay attention and listen to the sounds to kind of count out how many units that you have to expect on the other side. So you don't, like, the fog of war is there, so you can't see them, but having that, slow timeline helps in that sense, because then you can hear, okay, there's a giant that has a different sound effect than, say, the infantry, and then the cavalry has a sound effect. So you can listen for, okay, there's 2 cavalry, there's 2 giants, there's 1 swordsman, there's a couple pikesmen, and there's like a couple dogs. So you can gauge that by just listening and counting in your head as their feet are moving just by the sound, which I think is really crazy. And that's just like the gist of it, because like later on you unlock trebuchets, and you can use trebuchets that are super weak whenever people get to them, but they're so incredibly powerful as long as you space them out right. And like that adds a whole new layer of mechanics to it. And then eventually you're going to get like flying creatures and then ships that you can use as well in the water. And I'm just like, there's a lot to this game. And for like the price point, it's amazing how much they were able to cram in here. And then you got online co-op, or not co-op, but like 4-player, like you can have 4 players in one world and fight each other, which I think is really exciting, which we should do sometime.
Yeah, for me, like that's like a big
better.
part. Obviously, like I was saying, that's kind of what I started as, like playing these kind of games, is doing the versus mode. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, I need to get into it more. It's just, with all the stuff that we have to do, and there's so much going on in life, it just, anything that could speed up some of the stuff we play really helps.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's something else that I like about it is and I haven't tried this yet, but I'm interested to give it a go. You can create your own adventures in here. They have a tool where you can craft custom maps, cutscenes, and even campaigns using their in-game editors. So you can like create your own new map world and set up all the stuff that you want with the unit placement and the terrain and all that stuff, and share that with other people online, which is kind of cool. So there's a lot of stuff that they put in a thought in this game that I like quite a bit. So yeah, I'm reading some of the reviews online that people have said about this game, and some are really good and some are also bad because there are some people that are talking about the slowdowns of stuff and that kind of thing. But Advance Wars, was that the game that you played?
Maybe. I don't remember what
Advance
it's called.
Wars.
If I saw it, I probably know.
Okay, I think that's what it is because somebody was saying it's similar to that, and I've never played Advance Wars, but it looks like it was on Game Boy Advance.
Yep, that's the one. Okay,
interesting. Yeah, they are very similar then. So it's like war. That was like a war scenario then.
Right.
Oh, wow. It's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You did have tanks and stuff and artillery and missiles and you just have to place them in the right direction. And yeah.
They should do a remake of that one. Bring it out.
That would be sweet.
I'd be all about that life. Cool. Well, that's my thoughts on Wargroove. And it's a pretty great game. I recommend it to people. I would give it a try. See what you think.